Welcome back. Welcome back to the Lux Algo live stream. My name is Jacob. I'm here with Mickey. Mickey, how was your
Good
weekend?
afternoon.
Yeah,
How you doing?
Awesome. Well, we are a little late today, obviously, but it was kind of a boring Monday. We have a minor bit of news coming out this week. Jerome talks twice this week. We'll go over the dates here in just a second. So know when he talks. Be prepared because he loves to move that market. So we'll be definitely keeping an eye out for that. So far today, though, we are down a little bit in each market. NASDAQ down 30 points. Dow Jones down 66 points. And the SP 500 down 10 points. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, a little bit of exhaustion after rallying so high. But welcome back. Those of you that are new, feel free to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Let's get to 100 likes again today. That'd be awesome. We're only going to stream till close, so about an hour and a half right now. But John, welcome. Billy, welcome. Supreme, we appreciate you being here. Ariel as well, welcome. If you have been here before, we appreciate you coming back. If you're new, then subscribe, and we'll have a good time here. We got some fun things to go over that we've been looking at over the weekend. Some trades to go over that I had today with the Neo Cloud strategy, as well as the updated version of the Neo Cloud as well. What we went over with using the NASDAQ tick, which is a pretty cool concept, and it played pretty well today. But yeah, welcome guys. Sniper, Marcus, nice to see you again. Borsa. There was Sean coming over the Borsa. But let's take a look. Starting off, I already have the Bitcoin, we need to look at some news first. I was going to say we can jump right into the charts, but we might as well make sure you guys understand what's going on. So starting off, today, nothing too crazy. Again, guys, investing.com is probably the best place you can go if you don't really understand news and how news affects the market. They have a 3-star rating system. Anything that's 3 stars is important. 2 stars is medium. But you can also tell based on what the report is, what it's going to affect as well. So going into Tuesday, there's some pretty minor things. Trade balance. We have Waller speaking at 10 a.m. That could, 10 a.m. usually regardless spikes a little bit of volatility. It's like 30 minutes after open. So that, that's the start of higher volume trading as well. But yeah, so 10 a.m. with him speaking, I wouldn't be too concerned about that, but it's always something to note. We got API weekly crude oil stock that might affect us after hours going into obviously the crude oil report on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, nothing too crazy. A lot of 1-star reports, the mortgage refinance index and the market index on that. But Jerome talks at 9:15, so he's 15 minutes before open. So volatility tomorrow or on Wednesday will probably spike around 9:15 right before open. So be prepared for pretty aggressive moves at open. You might want to just wait until he leaves and then trade the action after that. But we appreciate you guys. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, look at that. We got the Lux Algo ad right there on investing.com. So we're everywhere. But again, crude oil inventory is at 10:30. If you trade crude oil, keep an eye on that. Projected a little bit of a surplus, not anything too crazy. We today on crude oil, we'll go over what it was again. If I scroll up, actually, we could see it. Commodities. Crude oil today is up 60 cents, $81. So if this, we talked about 80 being a pretty significant level. So we'll see if it rallies back. Sorry, you can't see that right here. Crude oil, $81, up 60 cents on the day. So if this report is roughly what it's predicting here, so long as we stay in the low 80s, we might actually see us head a little lower. Maybe we'll see if we can break that 80 level. But Thursday, like always, jobless claims. And then Jerome again. That's the title of this video, or title of this live stream is Jerome talking twice. So we're calling it Jpow week. So be careful on that. This guy really, the market goes nuts when he touches the microphone, when he walks up to the stand. So just note the times. This is at 2 Eastern, just like FOMC usually on Wednesdays. This is just him on Thursday coming in to speak after jobless claims that morning. So keynotes this week, Thursday at 2, and then you have him on Wednesday at 9:15 before market open. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting back-to-back day of him speaking. So we'll see what happens during those times. But other than that, we had a massive, massive week. 5% week on the S&P 500 last week. Pretty sure the NASDAQ was about the same. I think it was a little more. But really big move in the market. So, I wouldn't be surprised this week we have a little bit of reset, retracement, just because we got super extended last week on, nothing but green all week, every single day, closed positive. So what a week to come back off of and see if we could continue or head a little bit lower. But let's just dive in to those charts. And like I said, we had Bitcoin up already. Let me get some music in the background for us.
Want me to sing?
Yeah, sing for us, Mickey. Look at you with the thumbs up bubble. What was that? That's kind of cool. There's a little thumbs up bubble that came on your face there. That was weird.
Oh, me?
I think it was on my end. Bitcoin, though. Bitcoin is still in that bullish breaker structure on the weekly chart. We talked about this all last week. We wanted to see it clear this breaker block. It clearly is showing support. Good morning, Phil. How you doing? Alex, welcome back, my friend. Benji, like always. Benji's the OG. Symmetric. Yeah, man, try the trial. Trust me, you won't regret it. And if you do, then, it was just a trial. So check it out. But again, breaker block we are currently in. What else is this level? Obviously, it's a breaker block, but it's also previous demand. So previous demand, always like to come up and retest, fill some of these imbalances, which we did. And now we're just holding, right? I did state last week when we closed over the weekend, if we could close on the previous week high, we didn't. So this week we ended up closing, 34,038. The week before it had a high of 35,157. So really, we just need to hold the 34K, honestly. This low of last week was 34,000, pretty much. It was 34,038, so I would just say 34K. If we could hold 34K, I think we do have an opportunity to potentially, eventually, if we can get through this breaker block, hit that 40K mark. But we really got to get through 37 or higher. But a lot of support here on the Bitcoin weekly chart. Hey, Lucas, welcome from Brazil. That's awesome. But daily chart on Bitcoin is in a daily breaker block. And if we were just, I'm going to take off the breaker blocks for now, because as we go to lower time frames, you're going to have more breaker blocks appear based on the amount of price action concepts we have. And that being said, for price action concepts, there was actually an update sorry, let me double check. On Friday, update on Friday after stream. The notes are they added a entered any, entered bullish, entered bearish for imbalance conditions in the custom alert creator, which is a really cool thing for those of you that like to get alerts. I'm going to just take off all of these so I show you. I used all of those price action concepts to have several instances of the order blocks all on one time frame, no matter what. So I'm going to go back after I exit those off. I'm going to add the price action concepts indicator, right? So I have to notice it is 1.4.5, right? So I know that that's the updated version. And what I can do, actually, I could hit Control C here, and I could just paste it 4 times like that. I don't even have to click it 4 times. I could just copy it and paste it 4 times. And now I'll go over the settings that I did as well. But the update in this is if you scroll down to the bottom and you go to imbalance here, you'll see the any entered, any bullish, any bearish, or entered bearish, sorry, entered bullish, entered any on the imbalances. So entered. So that means, if an imbalance forms and price enters it, you'll get alert for it. So a lot of you like to trade, when price enters FVGs or any type of imbalance, you can now be alerted rather than within. So it doesn't have to be within, it's just when it touches it. So nice little update there. They also changed, let's see, user can now use a simpler setting for showing short-term or long-term equal highs and lows. So we'll go back up to our equal highs and lows right here, boom. You do short-term or long-term. I'm assuming this is just adding an additional okay, this level was a not. You'll notice on in the past. There you go. Perfect. So notice the distance between the equal lows here now, rather than because in the past it's been super tiny, like 3 candle equal lows. In this case, now you can see how many equal lows are there on the long term, is what I'm assuming. Let me double check on if that was the right one. So that wasn't it. That was actually the old one. But if we go to, where was it? Equal. Oh, I didn't even have them triggered there. 4.5. Oh, that was right. That was right. Sorry. That was right. I just didn't. I was on the wrong one. My bad. But again, there you have your equal lows that you could be moved to be a long term or short term, and then they fixed the highlighting entered / within bearish imbalance being highlighted as a bullish imbalance and alert message. So fix a few things if you're having issues with that. Again, though, if you are in the LuxAlgo Discord, it is in the announcements to the public as well as member info. Or sorry, we have an update as well in there. But make sure if you need to know, the one I'm looking at right now is under the LuxAlgo public section under announcements. So go check that out if you have any questions. But in this case, like I said, I like to have 4 price action concepts up. Now, I first go through here and I turn off all of the market structure to get our multi-time frame like I've shown you before for now. Then I go to the first one down here, and then this is where I turn on 1 market structure. So I make sure I at least have 1. And then that first one, we're going to make the, let's make it the daily order blocks. So our highest order blocks, I like to make my daily order blocks this pink color down here that I have. And then I up it to, 500. And then, let's see here. We scroll down, and I make my internal label size to normal, and then order block metrics to normal as well. So this is just the styling, so it's clearer for you guys. But in that case, that is what we are looking at. And then I like to go into the settings of the next one, and I change these order blocks on this one. Sorry, I passed it to gold. And if everybody knows, or yellow, everybody knows that these are our 4-hour order blocks. So we change it to 4 hours. So you'll see them adjust here accordingly. And then have that at 500. And then I just change the volumetric size to normal. And then we go to the next one, and we add white. I like to make my 1-hour order blocks white. So I go to the chart, I hit 1-hour order blocks. You'll see those adjust as well. And then I go down again. Internal label size on the metrics, normal. And then the last one, I usually leave at chart or 15-minute. But for this case, we'll leave it at chart for, actually, we'll put on 15 minutes because we're going to go through the things. So 15-minute, I don't change the colors of these blocks, or if I do, I just make them both green. And then we have those. So now we see, multiple levels in which we consider significant. So this daily order block, right, is within, or the 4-hour order block, which is gold, is within a daily order block. So if we get up to 43K, I'll consider that a more significant level. And also for some of these, sometimes we'll turn off hide overlap so you can see, even more. But, for now, I guess we could do that on all these. But this is my setup that you see here when we talk about multiple order blocks. Now, sometimes, though, when we go to like a lower time frame, this is what I like to use on like a 4-hour and a what's it called? Whatever, a 4-hour and a daily. But notice on a lower time frame, it gets kind of crazy. So I'll start turning off like the lower time frame order blocks. I rather see 4-hour, 1-hour, and daily on the 15-minute chart. Because look at this right here. This zone here, massive amount of order blocks. Now, if I were to take off, hide overlap, I can see, what would be more significant in this case. And for now, you can see what overlaps here, and that is right here, 34,252, down to, you can see even a little shade of purple there. So 34,250, I might consider a super strong level. But notice the way we've reacted to the 1-hour order block so far on Bitcoin. So let's jump in now. I'm going to save this layout. And Lucas from Brazil, Benji, Bitcoin 65K again. Let's hope so. That'd be a fun little run. Scott said, you ever fade the very edge of an order block for a rejection? See, I literally hit OB to a penny and bounced. Yeah, sometimes. It just depends what price reacts. But normally I look for a rejection and then a setup, right? A bounce like this and then a setup. Look at this. Bounce here. I waited. Boom. You could have entered like off the secondary move, or when it broke this trend right here, higher low, then rallied back to the upper order block. So it's usually what I do. Wait for a bounce and then a setup, or a rejection, then a setup. But like we said on Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we want to see it kind of continue up above that breaker block. So, and for those of you that are like new at this point, we did have these. Sorry, this is where I like the charts enabled on this. But if we show breakers on a weekly, this breaker, we want to go through 37,000. We're thinking before we go any higher at this point. Obviously, that's 2K away from 35, but again, if we want to get like a big push to 40K, that's what we want to see break. In this case, let's head over to NQ. NQ, guys, this is the NQ future, right? Okay, so those of you that are asking for NAS 100, all right, if you're asking for NAS 100 or anything that's similar, is going to be the exact same analysis. The numbers might be a little different, but it's the same analysis. So we don't need to look at different versions of trading the NASDAQ. In this case, NASDAQ's still stuck in this aggressive downtrend. As you can see right here, we haven't fully broken out of that. And if you notice, when I turn this back on, we are currently in, or sorry, we currently rejected this, sorry, daily. This is a daily, right? Yes, it's going off the chart. That's where my daily block go. Let me go bring that back. So this is a good reason why you want to keep overlaps off. Watch the difference here. Notice where we saw that rejection before. So we have that overlap off there. That's if you're okay with having them off. Some people get really annoyed with it. But on the higher time frames, really like having them off because I can see where past order blocks are that are still active. So we clearly on the NASDAQ ran up in July. We clearly rejected off this set of lower high, had a leg down. Now set another lower high for that downtrend formation. Leg down, didn't break the low, but set another lower high, finally broke it just recently. Maybe this is collecting liquidity, and obviously it did, and then rallied last week. But, you know, we got Jerome this week. We're back over 15K, of course. But right now, in this current state, we want to see how it currently reacts to this level. Because notice, we got a step down on the Neo Cloud, which we aren't a huge fan of. When that step down occurs, I'm going to take off these two guys for now. When that step down occurs, right, that means that that momentum might be shifting. We got the bearish break of structure as well. This was the 25th, so 2 weeks ago. And so this now has been retracing. You know, if we pull a Fibonacci from this retracement point, we've blown through, which is what I like about us potentially reversing. We have blown through the 618 and the 50 level on this move, right? We talked about as well, going back in time on this, I think it was the weekly, 1 week chart. We talked about this on the 1 week chart on the S&P 500, that we actually on here on the NASDAQ it held up quite a bit. But if you go to the S&P 500, so the same as SPX, whatever you want to call it. If you go to our recent swing point, you pull your Fibonacci, bounce perfectly off that 618 and the bottom of the Neo Cloud, right? So it lined up perfectly that day, the 2 weeks ago, for a possible massive move that we had this week. So really nice setup we had last week there. But going back to the NASDAQ in its current state, we're looking really nice for a breakout. Because look at the weekly chart here. What is it forming, right? This is a bull flag. Beautiful bull flag. Bull flag, bounce off the Neo Cloud. We have plenty of, let's pull up the order blocks again. We have plenty of room to, go and retest this upper order block here. That's an 8% order block sitting there. If we pull down on the weekly chart here, we have a 6% breaker that we could potentially retest. But after that price action before last week, perfect lower lows, perfect higher lows. This is a grade A 1 week bull flag that's trying to break. So we'll see if we can get that full break this week, maybe with Jerome talking. That'd be a lot of fun. And then maybe go retest this upper order block. But do like that a lot more, just because also notice on the weekly order block here, came back down, bounced directly off of it, and then had a beautiful reverse. But NASDAQ for now, still bullish on this week. It's just going to depend on what Jerome starts talking about. Let's see here. NASDAQ. We did that. Let's go over gold. I think gold had a weekend, didn't it? Or had a good week so far. There you go. Gold is, let's go to the 1 day on gold. Beautiful so far. Gold. Remember we talked about this starting off with our daily order blocks. We bounced directly, once again, off a high volume order block. If I were to take, you know, the high overlap off and then we go back in time, I can show you the beautiful bounce we had. Here's our back in time move. Boom. So we had this 10% order block, right? The only other high volume order block was up here at 1976, right? So this was very high volume order block. You can see the imbalances that we filled coming back down to the downside here from the big 2 days back in March. But we retested this low and we had a great low sweep, right? On gold. This was early in October. And then we pretty much engulfed the entire candle here. This is one of my favorite candle setups that you see, is when it breaks a low and then closes above the high as well. So great candle setup there for a beautiful pump into this week here. And we busted through that order block, which turned into a breaker block. So if we go, my mouse DPI went down. So we go into, you know, that break to 2K. You know, we treated this level, this breaker, as support so far. Let's see where we're at today. We're continuing to treat it as support. The only thing I don't like is that we set a higher high after a recent higher high as well. So a bull flag isn't in play right now. But if this continues to hold over 1976, as low as that breaker block is at 1966, then, you know, we could be resetting here, trading a little bit sideways for this to go up and retest this daily order block at the high there. Remember, we've been talking about for a while, 2040 was our target for that move. So we'll see if we get it. But overall, today, not too shabby. We're just getting a little bit of a not too shabby. There you go. We're just getting a little bit of a reset here. As you can see, very choppy on the NASDAQ. We came down a bit. This is the 1 minute chart, of course. If we go to the 5 minute here, you can see we came down a little bit, and then we're now retracing back. But if I wanted to go over the trades that we had today, we're up 276 today on the Neo account. Sadly, we had one trade that actually ran into about $100 in profit, and then just kind of retraced back. I was on my laptop this morning, so I actually didn't move my stop loss because I was doing other things. So technically, that would probably have been a break-even trade, but I just left my stop to see if it would go. But because we're also looking at a new version of this strategy using the tick, which is one of my favorite things to use as filters as well. But for the Neo Cloud today strategy, we're 2 of 3 on winners. Actually, I'll pull up the trade of 8 in a little while to show you guys the 2 of 3 for today. But let's go over the trades that we had for the beautiful setup. Let me see here. And starting off right at 10:50 this morning. If you guys were here on Friday, we went over this idea of the tick using Heikin-Ashi candles. The only reason we would never use Heikin-Ashi candles on a asset trading. I like using it on the tick though, because it can show which tick candles might be considered more significant movement than others, right? Because on Heikin-Ashi, when you have wicks, it's a little more indecisive. But if you don't have wicks, then it's a little more directional. So in this case, if you guys are used to talking about our NeoCloud strategy, we like to see a NeoCloud flip. Now with the new version of this, we're considering any trades after the change in the NeoCloud. So if it happens multiple times, it can happen multiple times. In this case, this flipped. We got a pretty early on trade for it. We broke the bottom of the NeoCloud. Again, for the updated version, we don't have to break the NeoCloud anymore because we're using the tick to filter it. More than likely, the tick, if it's negative and it shows a setup, we're going to probably get a push to the positive, and that's exactly what happened here. So you can see our arrow for our entry here. But what we like to see is a retracement with a bullish NeoCloud, right? Got a bullish NeoCloud. And then we want to see the tick in the negative, which we had here. Then this candle right here was the candle with no lower wick. If I put a draw, let me see, an arrow here on this guy. We had no lower wick on this guy, right? So our entry at that point was also on, let me see. I didn't mean to delete the line there. Let me bring that back, sorry. Right here. So we had this guy here. And then our entry point was also on this guy to see if we could go and retest this high, right? So essentially, we took an entry on here. As you can see, that blue arrow already. It's kind of hard to see there, but it's like that little guy there. We set our stop below this low here, and we were targeting this high. You can see that we ended up missing it just slightly. We were, just a few ticks off there. We ended up missing it just slightly, and like I said, more than likely, if I, was at my if I was at my computer, I would have had my stop loss right here. So it would have been a little bit in the loss, but I just had it stuck there while I was doing other things, and ended up getting triggered on this candle. But lo and behold, another setup occurred directly after once the NeoCloud flipped, and this is, of course, the 1 minute again. Neo flipped here, obviously. We don't care anymore right now for this version of the strategy. We don't care if it's a thin NeoCloud or not. We just want to know that it's bearish. So NeoCloud flipped here, and look at this entry. We had the very minimal tiny baby wick right on this guy. Let me make it red. And then we'll guess where that lined up with. It lined up with right on this candle here. You can see that arrow. We took our entry. And in this case, a lot of times when it does flip early, you can get a really good risk to reward. So we just risked the high there, and then we targeted this low. And you can see here on this candle, we got tagged out. We had a near 4-to-1 trade on that. It was 107 ticks, which for those of you that can't do the math, 107 on 5 micros, which is what we trade on the NASDAQ, is $267. So that cleaned out the loss we had from the original one. We think we went up like $30 because we are up at 262. Yep. So we went up about $30 on that one to clean out the day. And then, of course, we had another setup. Like I said, we don't have to wait around for another one. We don't have to wait around for this fully to break. But, if the tick cooperates, more than likely it will break the high of that. This is the 1 minute as well. So in this case, I actually missed the first initial entry, but price was still sitting at the exact candle for entry, and I got it, which is awesome. I got pretty lucky on that, didn't miss it. But you'll notice right here, tick was positive for a short on this guy with no wick to the upside. We should have entered on this candle when it closed right here, but we ended up on this one. Same price point, though, right above that NeoCloud. And then, like I said before, we take a short off that, very limited stop up there. Then we target, in this case, usually the recent swing low. But what I did was I just did a stop move pretty aggressively as we kept retesting a breakout potential here. And so when this occurred, I kept moving my stop and eventually moved it down to this swing low for 88, I think is what we got, which 88 there is $220 on 5 micros. So we got an 88 tick move there. And, we're not upset about it. When we're in profit, so long as it's not, like showing us, like we had a second breakdown here, I started aggressively moving my stop once we had that actual breakdown. Like here, you can move your stop, down a little bit, maybe closer to entry, like here. Once this set that lower high, I still wanted to leave it there because, we got another retest there. So once we got that breakthrough, I moved it here, and then I moved it here. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to now move it here because this candle was coming down, and eventually just got it taken out at that low. So overall, not a bad day so far. This is power hour now, so maybe we get a bullish setup while we're sitting in here, but we need that tick to run negative and then reverse for us, regardless of where the Neo is. But again, the steps are you want to just see a bullish or bearish Neo cloud to indicate whether you long or short. So in this case, if tick runs negative and you get one of those candles with no wick in the negative, and then we take our entry, and then we either target. That was the other thing. Sorry, the other thing was I did move my stop pretty aggressively because you want to also, for those of you that don't understand the tick, we can explain it on another stream, but wait, hold on, I gotta go back. There we go. But you want to watch where it is. So, we did extend to, in that move, negative 440. And negative 440 was acting as a pretty key support, right? At that time. We did extend past that a few times to 500. The biggest tick extension was 758. So my max TP was down there. But noticing how slow it got down here at a previous support also indicated that I wanted to, get ready to exit. So we ended up moving our stop pretty aggressively at that point. But nice little trade, nice little 3 trades today, and they, didn't end up running us too far in the red. So ended up being positive, and we're moving on from there. So those were the trades we took on the Neo Cloud today. We might, like I said, if there is a setup that occurs after we move down here, we might take another one, but we just have to wait for it. Did you want to go over anything, Mickey?
No, I was going to go over another tips and trick I used to use. I just want to bring it back up and show everyone, that may help you.
Yeah.
Guys,
Let's see. Alex said, Jacob,
whenever.
I use a broker in Europe, and I don't have futures. SPX is too high margin, so I trade SPY. Can you advise other tickers like this for NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, etc.? So for the NASDAQ, you want to trade the Qs. So QQQ. That's your ETF for the SP 500. But again, you could trade similar strategies on SPY and the Qs. It's not really. They trade very similar, so they're not far off from each other. The Qs and the NASDAQ have a little more volatility, and there's different stocks inside of the NASDAQ. The reason I trade, the reason we were looking at this, and we talked about this on Friday, the reason we did, we're in the wrong one here. The reason we did the tick and the NASDAQ is because the NASDAQ has a combined tick for itself. You can trade, you can't watch just the tick, but this tick is for the NYSE, as you can see here. It's for the New York Stock Exchange. So majority of those stocks are in the S&P 500, but why not follow, a tick that reads just the NASDAQ stocks? So in this case, this is the only reason why we decided to do the NASDAQ for this type of strategy. Is because there's one that tracks the combined tick in just the NASDAQ itself, which will reflect on the MNQ and the NQ as well. But yeah, in that case, the Qs or the QQQ is another ETF for the NASDAQ. The Russell, what's the Russell? What's its ETF? You could search it as well. You could just say Dow Jones ETF. Oh, not ETC. ETF. So you'll see that DJI is the index, obviously, but if you want to see like Dow Jones ETF, you have your Lex or Dow Jones Industrial, and you can see which ones that your broker might provide just by searching that. But there are a few. No more love for the YM. Of course there's love for the YM. We love the YM. But as you know, last week we ran into a road bump on the Neo Cloud strategy. It's fun to go over other ideas, right? Other types of way you could trade it. This morning, if we go to like the 3-minute on the YM, do we have any setup? We roughly had something with a small Neo, but again, here we didn't really have anything we liked. We liked the tick idea because we could have generated, more setups potentially, without having to fully break the Neo Cloud on either side. And it was on the 1 minute as well. So being able to trade the 1 minute is really nice for when you're not looking for full-on breaks and you're just comparing it to what the overall combined tick is doing. So it's just a nice little addition to the strategy as well. He said, "Why do my tick charts look different than yours? What is the symbol?" Like I said before, I have the Heikin-Ashi candles on the tick because we can see what tick is more indecisive versus actual direction. So, like I said, if there's wicks on both sides, then it's more indecisive. If there's no wicks, then it's more directional. So, like in this case, this down tick we're having is a little more directional because there's no upper wick. Now, obviously, it hasn't fully closed yet, so this upper wick could occur if it breaks that high, But in this case, it kind of helps. I had to turn off log scale. I have mine. Yeah, this probably could be it as well. You can see already this down tick's a little more directional based on what we're seeing already, and this is actually going negative. So we might actually have a setup here shortly. Now this is our first day trading this as well. So, we'll see how functional it is as we go on. But having 2 of 3 win, then that's pretty good so far. So we'll see how she does. But if you don't understand Heikin-Ashi candles either, you just want to spend a day watching them because you can see when one is reversing based on how the bodies react to current price. I wouldn't recommend using them on like actual assets, but I explained why the tick is a good one to use it on because it doesn't trade like a stock. It trades way different. If you don't know what the tick is, just Google it. We'll go over it some other time as we continue to work on this strategy. But it's a really good indication of how the market moves. So go research it if you don't know what it is. Let's see here. Somebody said gold. We did look at gold earlier. And actually, for the time being, guys, we might get a trade here. So let's see here. Let's see what we get. We'll get a pretty short. We'll probably indicate a short stop. Again, if I do take a trade here live on stream, know that this is on a challenge account. This isn't real money. This is not financial advice. This is pure testing. Okay, so don't just blindly follow my strategy, even though it's only been traded a few times. Okay, so I don't want you to just lose money because I'm testing something. So this is all within a test challenge account, and that's how I like to challenge strategies is can they pass a test on their own. So let's see, because looks like we will actually get an entry here. So in 2 seconds I'm gonna hit the buy button
Here we go,
and we'll trade it. So like I talked about, remember we like to see the Neo bullish. It is 209, so we are in power hour. So I'm not a huge fan of we're going to probably run into some programs here later today, some algorithm buying. So later in the day, I wouldn't normally take it. But again, when the strategy prevents itself, I take it just to see what works and what doesn't. So again, this is paper on a challenge account, so it's not real money. Only take it if you want to take it. But I wouldn't advise taking it. But in this case, I'm going to actually move my stop loss below this swing low here. And then we're just going to let it ride. And I think that's a good segue to pass over to Mickey, and I'll keep you guys updated on this. You can also watch it as well. But Mickey, what did you want to go over?
Yeah, sure. Let me address. I think there was a question here, right? Let me scan.
Somebody might have had something on.
Scott. Yeah, he asked, do you ever fade the very edge of an order block for rejection?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm going to pull your chart up because you can see there even on the Dixie, it's like right off that daily order block.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think what you meant was, as an example, let me hide some of this so we can like focus on what we're talking about here. Okay. What he meant was, do I set a limit order here to buy when the price is up here, right? The thought process is there's a high probability of price rejecting off of an order block. So why don't we just fade the trade, right? Placing a limit order to go long. So whenever price touches the order block, the thought process is we're going long. It will market us into the market. You know, it'll trigger the limit order, right? That's a technique, but I don't do that. Why? Because I want to see the reaction. Well, I mean, what if the price just keeps on going? You're smoked. Your account just got smoked, right? So what I like to see is a rejection. Yes, I will get into the market here as opposed to here, a little bit late, but I feel that it's a little bit safer for me because when price tags you in on this fade, what if it never comes back up, right? What if it takes this path? What if it takes this path, right? When are you going to close out, right? Are you going to bag hold? Are you going to pray? You know, so that's a technique that you need to experiment on your own. But for me, I want to react, right? Because I'm not smart enough to predict. So I'll take the route in reacting. Yes, I'll get a few ticks late into the game, but we rarely see traders enter at the very peak of the wick, right? I wish I could be that way. I'm not, right? So that's my thought process, not an honest answer, right? But let me go over to signals and overlays. Actually, correction. Let me go over oscillator matrix. For those of you have followed me the past few months, I've always used a higher time frame for a bias and take my entry in a lower time frame, right? And I've always suggested, why don't we use the Neo Cloud in a higher time frame, and on a lower time frame, trade the Neo Cloud in the same direction of the higher time frame Neo Cloud. Just pick one feature and just concentrate on that. And I also gave you an example of Lux Algo signals and overlays, candle coloring, just candle coloring. If the 4-hour candle coloring is bullish green and you're on a 15-minute time frame and it's bearish red, wait till the candle coloring switches to green, right? So now today I'm going to concentrate on oscillator matrix. Same exercise, right? Now, here's the oscillator matrix. I have peeled back the layers. The first panel is the complete oscillator matrix, right? Default. You could be overwhelmed if you're brand new, right? But let's peel back the features. The second panel here.
Real quick, Mickey, 1 sec, sorry.
Yeah.
Talking about that trade, guys, I moved my stop to that small swing low in the 1 minute, so it's like $100 risk. But I'll just leave my live P&L next to my face, so we might get stopped out because it is end of day. But just let me know.
Ooh, you got that right there.
But you go ahead.
Nice. Now I'm not going to be able to concentrate. I'm looking at that little box there. Right. Well, as I was talking about, this is the hyperwave. Right. But we're not going to concentrate on that. Let me hide these panels for you. Let me go with this one right here. Hide this one. I'm going to hide this one. I'm going to hide this one. Now we're going to concentrate. What is this? Can anyone guess? Money flow. Okay, here we go. Same concept. You trade in the direction, like example, we have a 15-minute and a 4-hour. Let me take off the watermark. On the 15-minute chart, I'm going to blindly enter with the money flow in the same direction of the 4-hour money flow. Okay? Here's what we're going to do. I am going to do a global box here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This money flow here is bearish, correct? Bearish. Where's my box? Did it transfer over? No. Why didn't it transfer over? Global. What am I doing wrong here? We'll just do this manually. Here, hold on. Right there. Okay. There you go. There you go. All right. You guys follow me? I think you know what to do now. On a higher time frame, money flow is bearish. So on the lower time frame, take all your entries when the money flow is bearish. We have one entry. An entry could be bullish money flow flipping to bearish money flow. That's one entry. There's another entry. Those are two entries. You are on the safe side of the money flow. Could there be other entries? Yeah. Yeah. You could trade this. The peaks and valleys, right? You see that? What if it increases in size? Right? The waves. That's another way to get in, right? But I'm not that smart. I'll just trade the money flow. The money flow flips. Same thing with the bullish. Let's do the bullish. It's not rocket science here. Right? There you go. You had two entries. 1 and 2. Right? Whether they win or lose, that's the rule. Rinse and repeat. Now look at this. All right. Same thing. So on a lower time frame, I'm using the money flow. All right. So that's a little trick that I do. I use the same concepts pretty much on candle coloring and the Neo Cloud, right? But for those of you who want to use the oscillator matrix, I know it can be overwhelming. Right, here's the oscillator matrix. Right. I know it could be overwhelming to figure out what is what, but if you peel back the features, right, and just learn each one separately, we have the money flow, hyperwave, and the confluence zones. All right. So hopefully this helps everyone. All right. Jake, it's up $17, $12.
Robert said, what? He said, sorry, did I miss you answering my previous question? Oh.
Robert's
what was your question, Robert? Let us know. Yeah, Christopher. I mean, it comes down to studying, man. You gotta figure out what works for you and your own risk and what type of strategy you need.
Okay, we have a short live session today, so let me go over my order block strategy, and I'll flip it right back to Jacob because we want to see his trade mature here. Okay. Order blocks.
We don't get
basically, let's take a look at the dollar. This is a perfect example. Dollar is chopping for the past 4 weeks, but it's chopping on a purpose, right? So, the gray order blocks are the charting time frame order blocks, which is my 4-hour order block, right? I overlay a higher time frame order block, which is the daily order blocks. The daily order blocks I colored in green and red, right? So my technique is I want to trade on the rejection of any of these order blocks, and I want to trade on a breakout of any of these order blocks. I will not trade in the inside of these order blocks, right? So get my path tool here, boom, boom, all right? There's a rejection. I'm going to a lower time frame to scalp this on a 15-minute, right? Here's another one. Rejection, going down. Okay, that's a crappy arrow, whatever. There's another one. And just like Jacob says, we don't make this stuff up. Here's another one. I don't know if anyone took this. This was like overnight, so I doubt it, but it is what it is, right? And the most beautiful one of the day.
Yeah, Alex, we can go over that in a sec.
Go ahead.
No, I was just telling Alex asked the question, so we can go over that.
All right. So take a look at this. All right. So what you want to do is fine tune your entries on a lower time frame. Like I said before, I could use this technique on a 4-hour. What if I just bring it down to Jacob's 1 minute or 3 minute and use his strategy to scalp it, right? You can use any strategy on a lower time frame, so this chart is telling me what direction to take. So on a lower time frame, I don't care how I'm scalping it. Use ABC, whatever scalping technique, Mr. Guru, don't care, right? At least
ABC 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, at least in my opinion, I'm on the right side of the order block most times because nothing's 100%, right? So that's my strategy in a nutshell on a 4-hour order block. Look at dollar. We can admit the dollar is the messiest of the Forex pairs for this past month. We can all agree on that. And that's why I don't trade the Forex right now. I'm trading I'm trading the futures. I will get back to Forex when the dollar behaves, right? But right now, even though when it's not behaving, look at all these rejections off these order blocks. All right. It's Picasso to me. All right, back over to you.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I mean, we're entering kind of end of day volatility. So we'll see if this even goes in either direction. But very short stop on a 1 minute. That's going to it's going to hit about $100 loss if it does hit. But we'll still be in the green if it does. But again, like I said, when you test a strategy, take everything that's given, right? Then you know what doesn't work and what does work. In this case, this didn't work. Then, this late day when the algos are, updating their balances and they're resetting their positions, it might not be a good time to be taking trades. But we take whatever is shown. So we'll see how this ends up. Eric said, I remember the NEO 4-hour explanation for global trend direction. I feel most live showcasing SMC and money flow. I mean, we're pretty much showcasing what we like to use. If we're talking long term, like if we're talking larger time frames, I do like looking at signals and overlays. Signals and overlays, fantastic for trends. If you identify a trend, it's a big part of it. And we went over last week my favorite, and hopefully the problem is that my P&L thing won't stay up there if I move to the signals and overlays, but we'll keep an eye on it. But we went over last week my favorite rendition, or whatever you want to call it, of the signals and overlays strategy. And this is still probably one of my main strategies that I use higher time frames, as well as like a 5-minute chart if I want to go for like trend trades. And we have that autopilot setting on, and we go in and we use signals and overlays, the smart trail. We use autopilot medium, and then we use the money flow. It's one of my favorite things to use. And we use also the market structure that is in price action concept. So for ES, great example here. It actually happened a few times last week. Now, these setups are my more ideal 2-to-1 large trade setups that I take if they occur. But it doesn't occur as much as something like the NeoCloud strategy that we're trying to come up with a way to have a nice setup per day, right? But for now, I will explain to you kind of what I look for with using signals and overlays, and this is a great example right here. And pretty much we want all of them to line up. Now, if not all of them line up, but 3 out of 4 of our steps line up, we take lower risk, we take the trade. But this indicates either way, really risk to be very small, which is nice. This is a great example that occurred last week on the 31st. And what I look for is a break of structure here, let's say on the ES. This could go for anything. This could go for gold. This could go for Bitcoin, whatever. But for a 5-minute, trending day, we look for that break of structure into a change of character and a smart trail flip, as well as a signal. I like to look for a retest of the smart trail and a bounce, but followed by a bullish turning point, right? It's always nice to have a bullish turning point occur below the 50 level if this was the take trade. Or take entry, and this would be our take entry right here, and then stop below the low. Then we target a 2-to-1. Not very often I get a 2-to-1 with the newer strategy, which I'm seeing here. We actually looks like we'll probably get stopped out, but again, it just got bought up again, so we'll see what happens. But in this case, for this, sorry, I got to go all the way back over. This is what I look for ideally in most of my trades. We can even look at it, on gold as well. For those of you that love to trade gold, I like to look for this setup on the short side and long side. And even here today, we had that exact setup as well. But the only thing that didn't line up was the money flow. But again, when that doesn't line up, we look for a little bit less risk to be taken, right? In this case, we would take less risk because the money flow was bullish. But we like to see a 3 signal like we saw here. We like to see immediate retracement after a signal and a leg down to that smart trail. And we on the smart trail here, we look for that turning point after reject, which would have occurred on here. We would set our stop loss above. Hold up. Sorry, short. We set our stop loss above this high. We went over this on Friday. Above this high, you can notice we did not break that high, so the stop almost triggered, but it didn't. But again, 2-to-1 on this as well would have hit perfectly, and that's one of my overall favorite setups that I get using the smart or signals and overlays, and I use that more than anything. But I like to, I wanted to come up with something that we could all kind of work on together, and that was, in this case, the Neo strategy. Look at that get bought back up. Like I said, this is late day, and then it's the NASDAQ, so it's probably might end up break even, unless in 1 minute. Sometimes I know on the ES there's an algo at 230, 245, or sorry, 330, 345, and 350. Yes, if I'm talking about the signals and overlays strategy, what I look for is I have them all up, have all default on. I put on the AI signals. You don't necessarily have to use the AI signals, but they are helpful. You could even use the AI signals as risk calculators. It's a 2. Two's not as strong. Obviously, this had a very strong move, right? But when I see 2, I could think, okay, I need to risk off a little bit. If I see 3 or 4, I could risk on some more. This is another setup in which multiple things occurred that we like, but they didn't all occur. But we saw here, what? We got a change of character. We got a 2 signal. The money flow flip this time never bounced off the smart trail. But in this case, we want to look for a retrace and then a turning point near the 50 level, which would have gotten here, and you could have set a stop for a move to the high. But you can notice even that lined up before we had that push up higher. So this is my favorite thing to look at with the signals and overlays and the money flow combined. As you can see, we had a setup on gold, but this setup doesn't occur all the time. So, that's why you got to look at, like, for me, I trade futures, but look at multiple assets to trade. As you can see here, we had another trade as well on crude oil today. For this, we had, we were already in a bearish money flow. We had a 3 signal. We retraced, we retested this, and then bam, we had a turning point right here. So I could have taken my stop here, taken my entry there with a stop loss up there, and then targeted a 2-to-1, and that hit pretty quickly actually. That was only a $300 trade, but massive little move there. And look, we're just right back and forth.
Only 300.
Only 300, yeah. But back and forth, bouncing around here on the NASDAQ. Maybe we'll get a nice move up, but that volatility might tag us out. But we'll see. But in this case, okay, I don't need multiple of these up. This case, that's what we look for using signals and overlays. At least that's what I look for, right? And even here, sometimes you can get lucky with lower or higher lows on strong trends. You have your turning point, obviously, here that occurred right on this guy, and then you got that breakout. Very low risk going into that because it didn't just occur. This is crude oil, of course. In this case, like, this is one I wouldn't take the trade-off here, but I would have taken the trade-off of this one. This occurred on Friday because we had a strong force signal, right? Still very bullish money flow. Strong force signal into a change character after a BOS. It retraced into this, but notice that turning point happened at a low. Don't really like that. Risk to reward for that to break, not great. But it came back up, came through, and it occurred again, rejecting off of the smart money or the smart trail there. And I would have taken my short here because notice the distant difference here. If you see this entry to this point, very short. Here to there, nice risk to reward. So I can then, set my stop above that high like normal. And then first I would target that low, but then target that 2-to-1 after that. And that would have perfectly hit. We had a 3-to-1 move as well on that. So that's what I look for ideally on a 5-minute, better setup, more confirmed move using all of our indicators. And yeah, it looks like we're probably going to close break even on this trade today. We got 18 minutes, or not 18, we got 28 minutes left, 27 minutes. So maybe we'll get lucky. But that, for those of you that want, something that's more set in stone that I know has worked, that is something that I really like, is waiting. When it comes to this type of strategy, though, you have to be patient or understand, what is considered an ideal setup and what isn't. Because if all of the things don't line up, then you need to risk down. You gotta say, if I buy 2, I need to buy 1. I need to buy 50%. I need to, do a lot less because everything's not lining up as much. But overall, that is what I like to look for on anything like Bitcoin. Let's see if Bitcoin has a setup on that today as well. Maybe today we just had setups on everything, which would have been kind of cool. But in this case, didn't there. I was going to see if we had a long situation here. This kind of setup here, this is the only thing when Bitcoin chops is it's the smart trail goes a little weird when the Bitcoin chops around like this. But again, we're in a bullish smart trail already, though. We got, our bearish structure change. We had bearish candles. We had a bullish structure change into a force signal, right? We got a retracement and bounce right here. And then look at this. Boom. This is our single entry on that candle because of this turning point. It was below the 50. We take a long off of that. And the reason why I like this, right, is because the risk to reward is super small. Because it's just 2 candles back. It's only $66 on Bitcoin here, and then you would target a 2-to-1, which would have hit perfectly fine, or you would target whatever you want, 4 to 1, 5 to 1. This thing ran up to, let's see, it maxed out at almost 6 to 1, but 5.5 to 1. And we are back in the green, retesting the high here on the NASDAQ. Let's see if we can get up and out. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to move my stop loss here below that low, just to make sure we, don't lose nearly as much. But if this breaks out, I'll probably move it below this low. And then if it continues, we'll be a little bit more in profit. But it's not, I'm not too crazy about what's going on this right now, just because it is late day. But we'll see. But yeah, if there's anything you want me to look at for this strategy as well, I know somebody said somebody wanted to look at the 4-hour chart for, oh yeah, Australian versus the AUD, USD. They have something coming out or whatever. But let's just say in this case, let's look at this, see if there was a setup, like I talked about, for more initial strategy, right? Notice here, though, we never touched that smart trail. But in this case, things did set up. You had, your bullish structure change. You had your bearish structure change. After a 3 signal, you went up, touched this high, you touched this level, and then right here, you could have taken an entry on. This is why, but again, even the money flow was there. We were in the positive on that turning point. We were coming off of a previous higher turning point, right? That was in a bullish side. So money flow flipped. You can take entry off of this. But again, remember, we like to see it touch the smart trail. So since it didn't touch the smart trail, instead of buying 2, I'd buy 1. And my risk is still super small. I target the low, but I also target a 2 to 1, which would have hit perfectly. So even on that today, would have had a great little setup, ideally from what we usually like to see. But that's pretty much what we go for on that type of setup. I appreciate hitting the like button, guys. We're at 67 likes. If you can get that up to 100, that would be awesome. We'd really love that. Yeah, this is just doesn't want to go anywhere today. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We still got 24 minutes left. Can you set a custom alert on the Neo Cloud technique? You can set an alert for when the Neo Cloud changes. That's what I would do, if anything. Set an alert for how it changes. So in this case, if I go into signals and overlays, go to settings, and I scroll down to custom alert creator, and I go to Neo Cloud, I usually do switch up, switch down, set an alert for each one, and then know when that happens on the NASDAQ. When that does happen, then I know that I need to look for longs versus shorts kind of thing. Pretty simple on that one. I was going to see XRP. Why not? XRP USD. Let's look at that. See, that had a setup with the same strategy today. And here you go. This is it. Exactly what we want, right? XRP. Look, 3 signal, right? Bam. Got that 3 signal. Change of character after break of structure. Got another break of structure. Where does it touch the Neo Cloud? Where does it touch the smart trail? Right here. Well, guess what? Where is the oscillator setting? It's right underneath. You take entry on this guy right here. Stop below the low. Target 2 to 1, and it blew right through that high. Hit 3 to 1 on that move, and then this move hit nearly 5 to 1. So beautiful trade. XRP 5-minute setup just nicely. And then in this case, look at this. 3, right? 3 signal. BOS after change of character. This one rejected here. Hit it that low. But here's where, this is a good example of where you might want to consider getting out of a trade, right? So you get a turning point here, right? You get that turning point right there on this guy. You take your trade. Your risk was up here. And actually this one, here you go. Here's an example of it getting stopped. So that was a stop example. But in this case, let me see. Everything line up? Everything did line up on this one. But, we're in a chop market. So, like I said, it doesn't work 100% of the time. But you see when it does work, it goes, 4 or 5 to 1. But this is a great example of, times that it doesn't work. Any strategy isn't, 100%. But you saw the amount of times we went over it, and it paid off nicely. In this case, let me see. 3 signal. Right, hit a low and it retraced. Ideally, if you notice, here's the difference. Here's the difference here on this. Is notice how the 3 signal occurred and it broke the low right after and then retraced. See, it broke the low and then retraced. At that point, not all the time you would want to consider that a setup. Look at the difference with this one. Three signal occurred, broke the high, it retraced, but it didn't come all the way back down, right? It continued this trend. In this case, this came up right where that signal occurred below it. This signal here on the long side occurred below it, which we wanted. If this signal occurred up here, and then it originally had that, because look at the trend difference here. If I were to let's just take off these, right? See the trend here? You tell me what happened to this trend. So the entry on this ended up here, right? On this turning point. Entry on this ended up here. So see the differences there? This was over a high that it just broke. It was trending properly. Nice move. In this case, this one came down, set a new low, and it honestly set it up at an inverse head and shoulders, as you can see here. So if you can understand price action a little bit, you can see when trades might not be ideal. You can take less risk. Sometimes, that it could be worth taking the trade. But that's just, normal price action, which tells you, okay, this trade might not be as good. But if you were to just follow the initial, steps, that would have triggered, and, you would have been, honestly barely stopped. It's still trying to go lower here. Where's the, see, we're just going to break even, it looks like. There's that 20-minute algo. If we get another one here at 350 as well.
No, is it the 20-minute algo now?
There's algos everywhere. They all end of day. It's just random. Let me see. This strategy is on stream here for you to review next time. Well, let's see. Someone said, let's go back to that AUD USD. Sorry, I should have gone over the 4-hour for him. Wow, this thing rallied hard. I'm going to pull it up on this guy so we can look at all of our order blocks and such. Beautiful. All right, let's see here. We're just, we're really choppy. Anyway, here's our daily chart. I'm going to take off the, let me take off the overlay. Yeah, height overlap was gone on that one. It is, let me just make sure they're all hiding overlaps. This one isn't. Okay. So, and dailies have breakers. Let me take breakers off dailies. Okay. Here we go. Much cleaner. Okay. So in this case, actually, look at this.
Is it flushing?
Is it dropping again?
Yeah.
Yeah, the NASDAQ is back and forth. The NASDAQ actually is, there it goes. All right, there was the stop. Took forever, but it triggered. Anyway, in this case, notice this day or 4-hour order block this bounced off of, right? Came down, bounced. I think we talked about this last week as it continued to hit more lows, right? It kept retesting this low. It finally broke off of that low, which is a good sign. So what we want to see now is a retrace and bounce and continuation. At this point, you do have an imbalance that might be set here in a second unless this comes back enough. But for this particular, rejected the same high. It does look a little bullish. It does look a little bit bullish. We'll see if we can, hold back and, continue this change of character we just had. As you can see, it broke this trend here. Nice little trend break there. And then, we just need a retest and continuation. So if it can hold over 64.5, I would say look for a long move. Look at this break. There you go. There's that algo that just wiped out that stop, but it's all good. It's right back in the green again. So there you go. That's a note that you take as, end of day trades obviously aren't all ideal, especially if you're been holding too long as well. But AUD USD, when that news comes out, it could be a nice little bull run because it has sold off quite a bit for now. But yeah, I can use the step system for that. But yeah, I like it bullish so long as it holds over that previous high at 645 is what I would say. 645 is a good spot to think about. But nice little move there. Oh, the NASDAQ. Let's see. that puts us at 163 for the day. So we'll, probably leave it there. We don't, we have 15 minutes, so there's not really any trading going to be happening. But without that, let's see, that trade closed us $92 loss. We had an early loss, 190. Like I said, we had 2 winners, 270 and only 200 on the other one. So we were 50-50 today. After that one we just took, but now we know. Late day, probably not ideal. I mean, today was a little crazier, a little choppier. Especially since, wow, it's been about an hour of chop so far, which is pretty crazy. But since we got up here, but in this case, end of the day, now we know we probably won't end up taking trades. But it's fun, when you're on stream to show you the setups, if it were to occur. But today, 163 on the day. Lost about $92 on that last one. But we're still on the climb. We're at 51,330. Remember, we had that 1K lost day, and we've been bouncing around now. That 1K lost day when we were looking at the Neo strategy. But there's another. Let me pull this back up. I want to see the other one actually. This is for that one. Let's go to.
When did you start the Neo Cloud, by the way?
The Neo strategy?
Yeah.
I think it was October. Let's see. I can look it up on the Neo one. I think that one's this one.
2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 2
Let's
weeks.
see. This month. Let's go this quarter. There you go. So we're actually 50-50 on winners versus losers. That's kind of funny. So that's, this is the data we like to collect to make sure we know what's working. This started on the 19th. So it's been
19th. Okay.
Yeah, it's been sorry, I went ahead.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks.
It's only
so,
been
So let me ask you, since you started it, did you get wrecked or were you safe?
Oh, we've been safe for sure.
There you go.
I mean, you can see it on this account.
That's the moral of the story there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're following the strategy. We've been safe. Obviously, it's 50-50, but this is why we do this. We like to figure out what works. You guys can't see the 50-50 there. But you can see it based on just the chart here. I'm showing the whole period in which this has been tested. And so, we're
But
learning.
You're up. You're
yeah.
up.
We're up
Right?
$1,300.
And you're at 50-50. You know how hard it is for traders just to make it 50-50, right?
Oh yeah.
So
very hard. So yeah, so we like this tick strategy. We'll continue with the Neo Cloud. Remember, we're mostly working the Neo. We know the Neo, we like it. The Neo had, I think, let me see how many days. Can I show days on here? The Neo had actually, let me go back to 1 sec. Let me pull up the Top Step account and see. Let's see if this even bounce while this loads. Log in. It's trying to. I'm having trouble logging in here. Hold on. There it goes. Very slow to log in. So we've been, for those of you that aren't in the group chat, we're trying another strategy using the, what's it called? The matrix. Using the matrix for the for another strategy we're working on. But in this case, here's where it was. This was, remember, the day 3 was the 23rd. Let's do last all time. So here's the equity curve so far. We were doing really well. We were nice and steady. We had 4 winning days in a row of $500. We dipped down. We lost 163 one day. We went up 2 more days, $500, and a 354 day. Went down $200. Went back up $200. 168, and then we had this big 1K loss day. We had 3 out of 3 losers that day, which sucked. Last week we had a small losing day and then a break even on Friday. Today we're up 163, so you'll see that tick back. This is what it takes to develop that. If this can fully pass, one of these tests, then it's worth, converting into a viable system, right? So, in this case, We are also now, we opened another account here for, I think it's this one here, for using the, what's it called? The matrix, oscillator matrix. It's up $480 today, which is way better, obviously, than 163. But up 480 today. It had a, look at this. Mickey, here you go. This is a way different type of strategy. 33% winning trades, 63% losing trades. Isn't that crazy? It's up $500. And
man, that's nice.
All the winning trades it had was only 36%. So it's like pretty crazy.
But here's the key. It's taking your small losses in trade management, right?
Yeah, it literally just takes small losses, and it's kind of waiting for that big move, and then it's done, right? So we'll go over that once it actually shows more results. But for now, we're not gonna share it till we figure it out. Sorry, let me go back up the questions here. Where you see it for the next run? XCN USDT. If there's no volume on this, I'm not really gonna look at it. So here we go. Let's see. Is the volume any good on this to actually trade, or is it just okay? Yeah, no, nobody's trading this, so sorry, not looking at it. XCNU. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to look at the what. What is this? Yeah, no. If I were you, I would just completely pull out of this, unless you want to hold it. Terrible volume. If you're holding it, fine. This is not something that is worth. It's not a tradable asset. You don't want to trade this. You want to just buy it if you believe in it, whatever the heck it is. Oxycoin, Onyx coin. Sounds like a Pokemon character. So yeah, if you're holding it, sure, have fun. But I'm sorry, we're just actually trading over here, so we're not really worried about holding this. Let's see here. Can you look at it? I'd like to see your opinion. It's ripping though, because game dropping, and it's like World of Warcraft gonna be huge. This Onyx coin, is that what you're talking about? So this is something, like I said, you can't. Let me explain why you don't like use this as, you don't try to use technical analysis to trade this. It's just not possible. There's no volume. Some person in like Dubai can come in with $300 million and drive this to like 10 cents if they wanted to. It's not really. Oh, which one? DOMI. Tommy. I was about to say. But this might be the same situation. What is even it? That's it. This Bybit.
Tommy USDT.
This at least has a little bit more volume. And it's been around longer. That's the other thing. This has been around long enough that you could technically talk about it in a way. Let me just look at the order blocks. This is how ridiculous these are.
He says that's the wrong one.
Okay. DOMI. That's what I thought I typed in. USDT. Oh, there's only one. Only gate.io does this one. Oh my gosh. Look at this thing. What do you want me to talk about on this? There's nothing to talk about. All you do is follow the news. This is all news driven. There's no technical.
Look at that pump and dump.
There's no technical analysis that goes into this whatsoever. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but again, there's literally no TA that can be said for this. You can't. No calculation is going to be correct. This is all news driven. This is some dude buying a bunch and then everybody follows kind of thing. It's a whole different type of psychological trading aspect to stuff like this. You can't. I can't predict the moon. It's like. Unless you know who's buying it and like it's actually worth buying, you invest in that. You don't trade it. That's all I'm saying. This just looks like somebody at some point was just very inside heavy, knew something was going to happen, and then it's going to drive the price. It's the same as like Safe Moon. Like Safe Moon, everybody loved that thing, and then you see what happened. Like, the rug got pulled, and everybody lost except for like probably 5
They learn
people. But again, like, this is why we focus on things like gold, ES, oil, nat gas, because you can actually trade it. But like Bitcoin, we can look at Bitcoin, we can look at Ethereum, we can look at XRP. Like, we can look at stuff like that, guys. That is stuff that you can trade. You can read technical analysis on these things, and you can actually make informed decisions using TA. But when you're looking at things that pump because of some crazy news, then it's not going to happen. Atom USD. You guys are crazy. Look
Almost closing bell.
NQ is making its move now without us. So we would have said of our well, even our original stop would have gotten triggered. Looks like. No, I think we had the original down here. So it still would have been moving. But man, what a chop into close there. This is also rejecting this order block up here, by the way, for the person Australian dollar and the US dollar. Let's look at another one with our signals and overlay strategy. Anybody just throw me a ticker that's actually tradable. We'll talk about it. Let's look at nat gas today. And look at nat gas. See if we had a setup. Wow. Nat gas just got demolished today. Nothing really on nat gas. We like to see, remember, that turning point above it. We went over a good 5-minute setup that I like already here, using all 3 indicators already. But if you give me a ticker to look at, we can go over it again. I didn't really see any setups past 2 days here on that gas. Oh, 60. We haven't done that yet, no. Did it have a day? It's a little warm in here. I need to pull my jacket off here in a sec. Turn on the AC. Actually, Mickey, is there anything you want to go over real quick? I'm going to go turn my AC on real fast. It's getting warm. Today was supposed to be cold, but it's warm now.
Yeah, you can flip it back over to me and do what you need to do.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, so let me go over a clean chart on the ES 4 hour. Okay, right now I have I'll go over the way I set up my chart. I have 4 hour candlesticks with 4 hour order blocks, right? And you can take a look at these nice moves. It visually looks nice, but how do you trade it? This order block formed, so we're gonna miss this short trade, right? Take a look at this move. I mean, that's pretty good, but how do we know to get in down here, right? I mean, when this order block formed, price was up here. So I mean, this picture looks nice, but after the fact, right? So how do we trade this? Well, let's go in the settings, right? And I am going to show the overlaps. I love showing the overlaps. Okay. Now it looks a little bit better, right? When this order block formed, take a look at this order block, right? All right. Yeah. See this move? There's a couple trades in there, right? Because we're taking the rejection off of this order block. All right. You remember this area here? How do we get into this when there's only this order block? Well, I just showed overlaps. There was this order block that was formed in the past, right? So now it's a lot clearer. Now look, if I go to the left, take a look at this. Why did price come down here? Well, I turned on overlaps. See this breaker block? There's another key level, right? So there is always a reason why price turns on a dime, And that is why I turn on overlaps. Now, this is just the charting time frames order blocks, 4 hour. What if I did the same with my daily order blocks? Turn on daily.
And Q
Show
is
the overlaps.
skyrocketing right now.
All right.
We gotta,
take a look at that.
We got tagged out.
All right. So many places. These are just rejections, right? Just rejections. And look at this. Why are we chopping? Why are we chopping today? Because my rule says I'm not going to trade inside an order block. It didn't bust out yet, and it's chopping. All right.
Yeah,
take a look at this trade.
Stop down, Brad.
Take a look at this trade. It busted.
Too much.
It busted to the bullish side. As long as I pick the right side on a lower time frame, I could take my long shots. You know, so that's how I set up my charts. Personally, I turn on overlaps because I want to see the levels. And I just proved it to you right here. The levels are important, right? Sometimes I don't show the overlaps in previous streams because it gets kind of messy, you know, for you folks out there. I just wanted to keep it simple, describe a simple concept. But for me, personal chart behind closed curtains, when the lights and cameras are off, I turn all of my order blocks on, right? And sometimes it can be messy. This is why I'm trading the futures right now. I turned on all the overlaps, the 4 hour and the daily, and it looks clean, right? Let's switch it to the Euro USD, my favorite Forex, and I'll show you what it looks like and why I'm not trading that. Give it a second to load, right? It's just too much junk. How am I supposed to trade this, right? It kept me off the sidelines. That's why I went over to the futures. Back over to you, Jacob, to close it down.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good work.
All
right. We were saying 61. 61 didn't really have a trade for us today. It was back and forth. Nothing too crazy. We got it. You know, you had that 2 signal early on. If that wasn't there, we would have had set up for the strategy here. That BOS into reject here, the turning point. Notice it would have played. Would have played just fine. Sometimes, you know, it can do that. You can be careful and trade it late, maybe, if you want. Very possible. For 61 there. YM today. I wanted to see. YM had a setup. Not a huge fan of the fact that it occurred during a bullish change of character. But there you go. Risk off once again. I think ES, though, like we said earlier, would have actually had something for us. And actually, no, it was a little late. We were in a 3 signal at the time. A bullish 3 signal. This is where also, like, let's look what it would have told us and the difference between, you know, midterm and the sensitivity. Right, we're at 16, it's saying there, but let's go back to here. You know, we had this first initial reject. Here at this point, we were in a 19, right? So sometimes this is why you want to use the optimal sensitivity. 19 put us in a 3 signal. So what we would have waited for, right? We had 3 signal BOS and a change of character. So far, we're trading a little bit sideways there. We had our turning point occur right here. So, you know, we had taken our entry with the stop below the high, of course, and target the 2-to-1 for this particular setup with the 3 indicators, and we would have played this off. See if we would have hit 2-to-1. Yeah. So we would have had it. That would have been a nice $600 trade here on ES today. Should have been nice. But there you go. I mean, that's why sometimes you do want to trade the optimal sensitivity. Because it can very much help you from getting all those false signals. The only thing is if you do go through each, you know, if you're going through a lot of different assets, autopilot helps. But you could also set autopilot long term if you want it to be more of a situation like this. But notice how much that adjusted even more. So that's why we always say if you do autopilot midterm, probably your best idea. But overall, nice little move there for sure. Let's look back over the higher time frames one more time, and then we could probably call it a day because it is closing. Obviously, we are back up after close today. We're positive on the ES, positive on the NASDAQ. Man, that trade and Q trade would have hit, right? Would have had that move. Remember, we were in. We moved the stop up. Now with this chop, probably should just left that stop there. Wouldn't have triggered it. But we targeted this previous swing there. So let me just see the difference in which you would have had. We were in, right? Let me see on this guy here, I think. One of these, somewhere around here. Wait a second. We entered on this guy here. There you go. We were in right here. And then our swing high was right there. Our take profit, we had it at 80. So it would have been an extra. Sorry, this is on the regular. We need to go to MNQ. My bad. But nice, but an extra $800 or $400 if we traded that way. We had it was 80 on that. So with that, we would have had another $200. So we would have been roughly 500 on the day if we didn't move the stop so tight with the chop. But sometimes, you know, that's what you need to do. Make sure you don't lose too much. And we ended green for the day. But overall, not too bad. We're ending green around the board. Looks like even CL, crude oil, ended a little bit in the pot. It had a decent little day. But it still ended positive today, it seems. 33 cents. Gold was in the negative today. Gold, we went over the let's check. We did go over the strategy on gold as well, but it has been choppy up here at this high. But gold today probably had one of the best setups with this trade here off this smart trail right here. Targeting the low and then a 2-to-1. Lovely little trade there on that one. But gold for now. Higher time frame. We're retesting the smart trail on the 4-hour. What I don't like is that we have a lower high. So a little bearish on gold. Let's see before we leave here what the overall sensitivity says for us here without autopilot. 18. Where we're at. Okay, so we're getting a bearish signal today. So it looks like it's going to close down here bearish. So if we break that smart trail, you know, we could retrace. In this case, you know, if you look at it daily here, I wonder if it has the it's not as looking as this. You have somewhat of a head and shoulders, but it's kind of choppy, but it's the same kind of concept where you break the high, you come back down, and then you set a lower high and you head lower. So we'll see what happens coming in. We are still sitting at 39 in the oscillator, so we have room to extend. But gold for now, definitely bearish. But cool, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it. We'll be back probably Wednesday. I don't know. We'll let you guys know. If we have a really good day tomorrow, we might hop on for a short stream or something. But just, yeah, was a later stream today. Was a busier day. This is a busier week for me as well with other things. So we'll be back on whenever we can. So we'll keep you updated in the chat. Like always, make sure to, let's see here. Let's get that music bopping. There we go.
Little mosh pitch.
Closing the day. What happened to the music? It went away. There it goes. Nice. All right. Closing the day, though. Dow Jones in the positive. SP barely positive. NASDAQ is sorry, that was the Canadian index. Canadian index is red still. NASDAQ is also ending positive. But overall, remember, Jerome talks on Wednesday and Thursday. So note that, please. For those of you that are new to Lux Algo, make sure to go to luxalgo.com. You can try out our indicators 30 days for risk-free. Just click this big green button. The link is in the description. If you enjoy the stream, please like and subscribe. I think today we hit, what? How many likes did we hit? 89. We got to hit 100. We need to hit 100. But again, if you are also new to Luxalgo, go to the website, click library. We have hundreds of library indicators on there that are completely free for you to try out. These are all based on certain ideas we have. Some of them are old legacy premium indicators, like the predictive channels. That's a classic one. One of my favorite ones of all time right now is the Fibonacci trailing stop. It marks your fib levels for you with a stop loss, which is pretty cool. I look at that sometimes to help with how and where we might go next. But also you can, you can filter it out based on the category you want to look for, and we're available on 4 different platforms like TradingView, MetaTrader, Thinkorswim, NinjaTrader, and TradeStation for some of those indicators. But other than that, if you want more information on the premium indicators, just go to the resources tab on the website, hit guides. This gives you all the information you need on each one of the premium indicators. But also join the Discord. Me and Mickey are in there. I'm mostly there during the day. Mickey's there 24/7 pretty much. You send us a question, we'll try to answer it as quickly as possible. But we're trading there as well every single day, kind of sharing our ideas in the VIP section. So if you do sign up for the 30 days risk-free, you will get access to the VIP section to trade with us too. So let's leave it there. Appreciate you guys. Stay up to date with the news. Stay safe. Should be a pretty easy week other than Jerome talking those 2 times. But be smart and manage your risk properly. I can't flex that enough. Risk management is everything. So, if you're over-risking, you keep losing on those challenge accounts, analyze the risk you're taking. But we're going to leave it there. And Mickey, you have a good evening, my friend.
You too, man.
Everybody else, have a good evening. And we'll see you either tomorrow or Wednesday. So, see you soon.
Have a good one.